Hey everyone, today I have a very fun idiom lesson for you about friends and family. And idioms are great because we use them quite often just in everyday conversation. They're very casual, they're very informal. As you are learning these idioms, I want you to think about your family. I want you to think about your friends and your experiences because that's going to help you better remember the meaning. So the first idiom that I have for you is a spitting image. And you would say that someone is a spitting image of someone else. And what this means is that a person closely resembles this other person. So when you're talking about a family, and I think often you're talking about either the father and the son, or the father and the daughter, or the mother and the son, or the mother and the daughter, you would say that this person, the child, is a spitting image of their parent. That is how it's most commonly used.
He's a spitting image of his father, isn't he?
Perfect. You're the spitting image of your future son.
His blood runs in my veins. It's a spitting image of old Bootstrap Bill.
The next idiom is runs in the family. And this is talking about inheriting traits from other people in your family, your parents, your grandparents, and you would say that this trait, this characteristic, it runs in the family. For example, I have blue eyes. And I could say, well, blue eyes, it runs in the family. Or perhaps you're talking about somebody's hair color. Maybe they have red hair. And you say, well, it runs in the family. That this characteristic, this trait is inherited from other family members. It runs in the family. It doesn't always have to be referring to a physical characteristic. You could talk about somebody's behavior or their mannerisms as well. Perhaps it may be something that's not good. Perhaps somebody's a criminal. And you'd say, well, yeah, that runs in the family. The parents, the grandparents, they were also criminals, so maybe it runs in the family.
Don't get mad at her. It's a couple little strokes. Runs in the family.
You have panda asthma too? That run in the family?
I guess stubbornness runs in the family.
Then we have an idiom that I think has become more popular in recent times, and that is describing someone as a helicopter parent. And if somebody is a helicopter parent, it means that they are giving way too much attention to the child. And not attention, I think, in a good way. Think about it, it's like they're hovering over the child. Everything that they do, they are not leaving the child's side, even as the child gets older and becomes a teenager. And they're still kind of controlling their lives. You could refer to this parent as a helicopter parent. It's not a compliment if somebody is being called a helicopter parent. To me, it means they're a little overbearing, they're too controlling, they're too involved in their child's life. A helicopter parent.
You have to hover over your kid's shoulder to force them to succeed. It's called helicopter parenting.
Give them space. Kids love that.
Didn't want to be a helicopter parent.
I think we should let the kids just work it out. I'm not really into helicopter parenting like you are.
Then you may hear somebody say a chip off the old block. And I think this is more of an older idiom. So it's good for your comprehension. You may hear it in a TV show or a movie, but if you hear someone say a chip off the old block, they're referring to the child is much like either the father or the mother in some way. You would say they're a chip off the old block. Often I think a parent would be talking about their children to some other person. And they say, my son, he's a chip off the old block. He's just like me. Or my daughter, she is a chip off the old block. She is just like her mother. She likes to eat a variety of food. Just like her mother, she's a chip off the old block.
She's feisty. I love that.
Yeah.
She's a chip off the old block.
Elroy, you're a genius.
I am?
A regular chip off the old block.
The next idiom is like taking candy from a baby. And this is just a simile. You're comparing two things and you're saying that something is easy. Something is very easy. It's like taking candy from a baby. Because if a baby had some candy, well, it would not be very difficult just to reach out and grab it and take it from them. And you could say, well, this is easy. It's like taking candy from a baby. Often, I think it's used to describe some situation in which you have to accomplish some kind of goal and you have to complete some task. And you're like, well, it's going to be easy. It's going to be like taking candy from a baby.
And that is how it's done.
Like taking candy from a baby.
What do you think, Jackie? I mean, we got a case?
Like taking candy from a baby.
Speaking of candy, the next idiom is like a kid in a candy store. And this idiom is referring to the way that somebody is acting, and it just means that they are very excited about something. They're almost acting in a bit of a childish way. They're so excited. And usually I think people are describing themselves when they say this, and they're like, I visited this place and I was like a kid in a candy store. I was so excited. I was running all around. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like a kid in a candy store.
What corpse should we unearth, sir?
I feel like a kid in a candy store.
It's college basketball.
And I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Then we have to sleep like a baby. This is, again, a simile comparing mostly yourself to a baby, because when you sleep like a baby, it just means that you are in some deep sleep and you are getting a lot of rest. And you'd say, well, last night I was so comfortable, I slept like a baby. I think generally people use this when somebody would ask and they'd say, oh, how did you sleep? How did you sleep last night? You could say, I slept like a baby. I slept very well, just like a baby would sleep. So I slept like a baby.
Yeah, when it's done, I'm gonna sleep like a baby.
I've come a very long way to see you.
I couldn't sleep tonight. Usually I sleep like a baby.
He's probably sleeping like a baby right now.
I'm sure he's wide awake, full of guilt.
Do you ever feel that way?
No. When I go home at night, I sleep like a baby.
Then we have to pop the question. And this is an idiom that I think is very common. Many of you may already be familiar with it, because to pop the question means to propose to someone, to ask someone's hand in marriage. And you, in that case, you are popping the question. Will you marry me? You pop the question.
Carl is about to pop the question. You mean like marriage?
I cannot believe my son is gonna pop the question.
Where did he pop the question? What did you say?
Said no, can we drop it now?
It wasn't a real proposal.
The next idiom is breadwinner. And you would say that someone is the breadwinner. And this is referring to a person in the family who earns the money and earns the money to support the family. So you could be talking about either the man or the woman, and you could say, well, he has a very good job, he's the breadwinner, or maybe she has a much better job, and you say, well, she's the breadwinner. In the case that both the man and the woman work, then typically you would be referring to the person who earns the most money, who is supporting the family more financially. That person is the breadwinner.
Oh, and I want to thank you for putting me under the added pressure of being the sole breadwinner now.
Lindsay, the bead business taking off, is it?
Actually, I am the breadwinner, Michael, as it turns out.
I am the sole breadwinner in my house. There's no other source of income.
The next idiom, which I think is a great idiom, even though the meaning is not that great, and that is black sheep. And if you're talking about a family and you say that someone is the black sheep, it just means they are different than everybody else, but typically different in a way that's not good. Perhaps they're even disrespected by the other family members, and you say, well, that person, they're a bit of a black sheep. I think it doesn't always have to be something bad, but more just different, perhaps even a little unusual. That the way they're acting, the way they're behaving, the way they're conducting their life, they're just different from the rest of the family. Someone is a black sheep.
Everybody thinks I'm the black sheep. Well, I'll show them what a black sheep can do.
Since before the dawn of time, I have been designated the black sheep of my family. This label is permanent. I can't erase it, and I can't trade it in for a new one.
Do you know what's a black sheep?
No.
It's like when you're different to everyone else.
Like me, I look different.
So those were all idioms that were related to the family. Now I want to talk to you about idioms that deal with friends and talking about friends. And the first one that I want to talk to you about is like two peas in a pod. And if you say that two friends are like two peas in a pod, it just means that they are very close. They always do things together. You never find them apart, and you would say, well, they're like two peas in a pod.
We should commemorate this one with a selfie. Oh. Look at us, two peas in a pod.
He's awesome. He's always up. He's always happy. I mean, he and I are best buds. We're like two peas in a pod.
Next is the idiom to have friends in high places. And when you say that you have friends in high places, it just means that you have friends who are influential or friends who are powerful. They have some kind of position in which they can wield influence or power. You can say, you know, I have friends in high places. I personally don't have friends in high places. That's okay. It's not very important to me, but yeah, I don't know anybody who's powerful or really influential. So yeah, I don't have any friends in high places.
Waste of time, Deputy. We have friends in very high places.
Oh, it's hurt me. I'm not liked in Washington. I know that. But I do have friends in high places.
I've made a lot of friends in high places. In this case, the Costa Rican government.
Then we have the idiom, a shoulder to cry on. And this is just talking about a friend who is willing to listen to someone else's problem. We often use it with the verb have or need. You could say that, hey, you know, tell your friend, you know, you have a shoulder to cry on. If you need to talk to me, I will listen to your problems. Or perhaps you want somebody else to listen and you say, well, I just need a shoulder to cry on. I need someone to listen to my problems. I need a shoulder to cry on.
You deserve better, Lizzie.
Lizzie?
Someone you can talk to. A shoulder to cry on.
I'm starting to realize that she has to settle for less. The moment she needs a shoulder to cry on, BAM!
I say you tell Alex your heart belongs to Penny. I provide her a shoulder to cry on, and then roughly half a year later, I give it to her good.
Then there's the idiom to bury the hatchet. And when two people bury the hatchet, it just means that they are ending some sort of conflict. Often I think of perhaps they're two friends, they get into an argument, they're fighting each other, and they need to make up. They need to bury the hatchet. They need to end this conflict. You can use it when talking about friends, but you could also use it when talking about maybe colleagues at work or even with your boss or somebody else that you know that there's some kind of conflict that exists and you need to end that conflict. You need to bury the hatchet.
What the hell are you doing on my property? Look, it's time we bury the hatchet.
Seriously, Ari, what about us would you like to talk about?
I'd like to bury the hatchet. The animosity between the two of us has run its course.
You can pass that on to Spencer, too. Can you please bury the hatchet with her? I'm sick of taking sides.
Next is the idiom to hit it off. And if you say that two people hit it off, it just means that they become friends quickly and they really get along with each other. And it's kind of like a sudden friendship. And you say, wow, you know, they really hit it off. You can use it to talk about friends, or even perhaps if you're dating someone, you go out on a date and you had a very nice connection. You could say, yeah, we really hit it off.
You and her hit it off?
Define hit it off.
Did she continue talking to you once she'd fixed her computer?
The whole night was amazing. We totally hit it off.
And your mother, she's been calling me all week. She wants to go to a spinning class with me. What is up with that?
I thought you two hit it off.
Next is the idiom to build bridges. And when you're talking about building bridges, you're talking about trying to make a friendly relationship between two people or even groups of people, that you need to build some bridges and have friendly relationships with this person or with these people. Maybe you don't get along with your boss and it's just a problem and you need someone's shoulder to cry on, and you're telling your friend about this problem and they give you some advice and they say, you know, you really need to build some bridges. You need to build bridges with your boss so that you guys have a friendly relationship. You can get along because you work together. It's important to build bridges.
In times of crisis, the wise build bridges. The foolish build barriers.
Then we have to strike up a friendship. And this is an idiom that just means to form a friendship, to have a friendship. So if two people become friends, you could say, yeah, you know, they struck up a friendship. Or maybe you are going into some place where you want to meet new friends. You say, you know, I really hope to strike up some new friendships. I want to make friends with other people.
Come on, they spent 5 hours together. Maybe they struck up a friendship.
Oh, whatever he struck up, she should be sick of it by now.
Then there's the idiom to know someone inside out. And if you say that you know someone inside out, then it means that you know this person very well. So you may be talking about your friend. You say, yeah, you know, I know my best friend inside out. I know everything they like. I know everything they dislike. You could also use it when talking about a family member. You're very close with your family. You could say, yeah, I know my brother. I know my sister. I know them inside out. We can also use this idiom when not just talking about a person, but perhaps even a topic, a subject, and you know something inside out. So for example, you could say, I've been working on this presentation really hard. I know it inside out. Or maybe if we're talking about traveling, you'd say, well, I've been to this place a dozen times. I know it inside out. I know it really well.
Actually going to go ahead and give her a call too. We used to date, so I know her inside and out.
I think I can handle being a candidate's wife. I know all the issues inside and out.
I know this song inside and out.
You know the product inside and out. You are the horse that I would bet on.
So I just want you to know that if you have any problems learning English and trying to build your vocabulary, let me know. You always have a shoulder to cry on, because you and me, we're like two peas in a pod. And especially let me know if you are a powerful and influential person, because I would love to have some friends in high places. All right, so I hope that you're now able to go out and use some of these idioms in your everyday conversations, especially when you're talking about friends and family. They are so common, they are so useful. That's all for right now. I hope you learned some new idioms, and I will see you next time.